So in Ashes of Creation, change is a constant mechanic. It's something that players need to be cognizant of, like when defending and we have our gameplay footage, by the way. Again, this is a pre-alpha footage, so take it with a grain of salt. It's not very polished at the moment, but it is a beautiful thing that we've spent a long time over the past 15 months creating, and we love it so far. So this is a mage running through one of the great divine gateways in the world in the Ayla starting area. Sorry. Getting back to your question.
Yes.
When a siege is declared against a node, and if that siege is successful, you're going to see the zone that pertains to that node after the successful siege will go through a period of open combat where these freeholds are susceptible to destruction and attack. And after that period is complete, which it could last an hour or 2 hours, we haven't determined that yet. But after it is complete, if your freehold still resides within a stage 3 node or above's zone of influence, it will be fine. If it does not, then it will be gone.
Okay.
The freehold will likely
So
be
even
gone.
if the city goes down, you actually can defend. You can be out there with a pitchfork defending against,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right.
With a hose, just trying to put
That
the
is true,
fires
and,
out.
and there's going to be structures that you can build on your freehold that could assist with that. There could even be guards that you could retain through some type of mechanic or purchase or gold whatever it is, that can be at your freehold in the event that a siege is successful and help defend. And you can have your friends come and help defend. Your guild can come and help defend. It is another point, and those
It is
people,
the last stand,
exactly.
basically.
Yeah. And those people that attacked that node, they may be this roving band of marauders going through the countryside trying to destroy the freeholds that existed here. And they may see yours with a bunch of your friends defending it, and they say, okay, forget that one. We're going to go to the next, whatever the deal may be. But yeah, that's how that's going to work. And it's another thing important to note that, the way housing has worked in other games is it is a lot of resources and a lot of time to build up that housing.
Right.
Ours is more cognizant of the fact that housing is going to change. It's going to move. It's
probably going to get destroyed.
It's probably going to get destroyed. So it's not going to be as intensive to
Yeah.
get up and running again.
It's not going to be onerous. You'll be able to
Exactly.
copy your layout. You'll be able to,
save your build inside and stuff like that.
and stuff like that. So it's not going to be, the end of the world if your homestead
Right.
or your freehold gets.
And one of the other things
down.
that we're going to test in alpha and beta, which is a potential, is that these certificates of freehold may have on them additional design features like you built a furnace or you built a smelter, or you built a home, whatever the deal is, and that may get included onto your certificate. And if it gets destroyed and you've already built up those places on the certificate before, and you go to lay it down somewhere else, it'll come pre-built or something
Right.
along those lines. That's something
we can
another
more than
thing.
likely do something like
Yeah.
that.
Okay. Now, you mentioned that these freeholds, like you said, with these writs of freehold, the plots of land that you can build anything you want on, in place. Now, how are these going to be set up? Are we going to see something like every free patch of earth taken up by these freeholds, or is it something closer to some other games where there's designated housing zones that's where they can be built?
So that's a good question. Obviously, assets within the world carry with them a template that exists their location basically, and there's going to be pathing routes, and there's going to be dungeons and events, spawn areas, and all that kind of stuff that are going to have kind of blockout areas. But essentially, I don't think we're going to go down the route of, hey, there's a designated plot over here that everybody gets to rush to and grab. It's going to be more open within the zone of influence around a node, but there's also going to be proximity markers between freeholds so that you can't stack them necessarily on top of each other and just kind of make this ugly looking countryside thing.
We want stuff to look good.
Yeah, we want there to be some space between you and your neighbors a little bit.
Right.
So it's going to be a more open plot placement design, but maintaining that proximity distance between the templates. That are laid
And you
out.
are going to need a leveled up node in order to place one to begin with. So it's not going to be just everywhere.
Yeah, and it's not going to be a land rush. either.
It'll make sense with regard to what the world looks like,
Yes.
kind of. So
right.
you'll see civilization with civilization.
Yes.
Okay, and that actually does follow up here pretty nicely with going into node section again, because I know we go over nodes a lot, but I had some pretty focused questions here.
Of course.
And you kind of answered that, at least with the player housing side, but when these nodes level up, And who decides the location of these buildings, specifically within the cities themselves? Are they pre-done by like NPCs and stuff like that? But then you also mentioned player-run governments and having the ability to choose specific services. Like, how are these things being placed? Are we just going to see willy-nilly cities, or did you hire a city planner?
No, so nice.
We hired a city planner.
Excellent.
You're going to see that when nodes develop, they're going to have a base style template that's reflective of a few things. It's going to be reflective of the race that is the primary founders of the node, and that's going to determine like the architecture, design, and the types of buildings you're going to see. It's going to be determined by the type of node, whether it's a military, divine, economic, or what?
Scientific.
Scientific, sorry. And those types of factors are going to come into the way that the node is going to appear initially. The player-run government is going to have sectored out zones within the node that are unbuilt and are going to require direction from the mayor and the government to determine what do we build here. Is it going to be an apartment complex? Is it going to be a merchant house? Is it going to be a thieves guild? Is it going to be a marketplace? Is it going to be a barracks? There's a whole bunch of determining factors of what types of buildings are going to get constructed. And then once that is determined, the community is going to have to come together through driving resources through caravans and bringing them into the node and actually constructing that building through questing and stuff like that.
Right.
Excellent.
Right, so it's a little bit of A and a little bit of B,
Okay.
right? Like, there's going to be a lot of stuff provided out of the box, and then there'll be decisions that the government has to make as far as how to kind of specialize their city. And once they choose certain things, they won't be able to choose other things. So there's going to be, we expect there to be node builds, basically.
And there could be regime changes.
Yeah.
Like
And
if
regime
somebody
changes.
doesn't like the fact that a market was built and they want to re-elect a new government next cycle, they can do so, and that market could be destroyed and a new building in
Right.
place. So there's going to be
The will
means
of the
to those
people.
elections, exactly.
Right.
Yeah. Get a mandate.
Right. All right, so leads me into another fun question. Will these cities that are being developed by node progression have predetermined names, or are we going to see some stupid player-created name like City McCityface?
We talked about this.
Number one, that name is not stupid.
Thank you. Well said, Peter. Well said. City McCityface is a great name. No, just kidding.
Confirmed.
It's one of the names we're
It's going to be predetermined. There may be a list of names available for the city that could be initially determined by the creators,
Right.
the primary people. They could choose from a list, but it's not going to be City McCityface.
No City McCityface. All right, you heard it here, folks.
Yeah.
True sadness.
I know.
See,
I'm sorry, all you memers.
I really like that just because, for the lore of the world, it's kind of nice to know that these cities actually are, we're predetermined. So, when
Right.
your franchise expands and someone writes about City A, you kind of have a logical idea of where it's at. So
Right.
will each individual server have like a unique landmass, or is the world the same regardless? And the only thing that really changes is how the node is developed.
Yes, the world is the same regardless, and all that will change is how the nodes are developed.
Yes.
And that should change enough, I think. But having everything procedural like that, just it doesn't work out that well usually.
Right, we saw what
It
happened
ends
with
up feeling really generic and
Yeah.
soulless, and we want to make sure that our environments feel crafted and that there's a reason for everything being there, not just algorithm A decided this might look good. So yeah, everything is going to be crafted, everything's going to be the same, but the stories and the cities and those things are all what's going to change.
Excellent. So with the enhanced naval combat and content that you guys are doing, all right, so I had some questions here. A, can ships be destroyed by either enemy players or monsters?
Yes.
Okay. Will I be able to siege a coastal city by sea?
Maybe.
It's possible.
Maybe.
It's possible.
Right. It's
That's like a
it's
balancing.
potentially possible.
Yeah, it's something that we're still talking about. Now that we know that we're actually going to be doing it,
Right.
We're going to be fleshing these ideas out a lot further.
Yeah.
It's something that we talked about. We thought would be really, really cool. But again, we have to really kind of game it out and make sure that it will be cool.
And there has to be a give and take there as well.
Right.
Meaning, founding a city along a coastline shouldn't inherently be more risky for the city during
Correct.
a siege.
Right.
So we're going to have to make sure that those mechanics blend well with each other and balance out.
Right.
Well, I mean, yeah, there you go. So underwater environments, how are they going to work? How are players going to actually be able to breathe? Because given, we don't really know much about the technology of the world here, So is there going to be, potions, spells? Like, are we going to be able to breathe underwater at all, or is it hold your breath and you got 30 seconds to figure out your way around?
I think that we're going to include a few different mechanics. There could potentially be items that may give you a magical ability to breathe underwater. There could be potions. There could be food. There could be
gillyweed.
Spells. Yeah, gillyweed. There we go. I told you, gillyweed. Yeah. No, there definitely could be a wide range of abilities to make. Because now we have that expansion where we're going to be including a lot of content underwater, we want to make sure that it's not going to be...
It's accessible, right?
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
Yeah. It's really silly to make content that people can't play.
Yes.
So.
And we don't want it to be something that's cumbersome to navigate and stuff. And I think that's probably been the downside of a lot of other games that have introduced underwater content, is the fact that players don't want to go there because it's a pain in the butt to actually go through.
It always feels like throwaway content almost, and it's something that we really want to focus on and make feel good.
All right, so this one is completely directed at Jeffrey over here, Jeffrey Bard.
Oh God!
Will the Bard class feature some like Star Wars Galaxies-esque non-combat roles where they can be used out of combat to restore players, into a rested status? Or this goes for any class, but since Bard is a Bard.
Like maybe they could dance for the people?
Maybe. I mean, if that's their thing, because you did mention before that they don't have to play instruments, they could dance too.
If they're going to entertain you.
Write poetry, I don't know, whatever.
So probably not in that way. We want to really focus the social spaces on that. So it'll be more like where the area is and like who's taking part in that. We want those social spaces to kind of take that role, not necessarily a class. We don't want the class to be the downtime guy. We want the area to be the downtime guy. So there will be, bards will have utility, just like all classes will have utility out of combat. But rested experience specifically is probably not going to be that role.
Gotcha. Now we can see from the video that you have here, you have some combat and you are playing a mage, so it kind of fits in. It almost looks like a lot of spells are instants, but are there going to be any spells that require you to remain, stationary while they are being casted, and will players have the ability to interrupt the spellcaster?
There will be very few that will lock you in place. That's not how we want our combat to roll. I think most people here think it's really boring to stand in place and cast the same spell over and over again.
Yeah.
But there are going to be a need for that, right? The summoner, when they're summoning their creature, more than likely isn't going to be running around. There will be other abilities that are kind of bigger that make you a bigger target by rooting you.
Yeah, again, it's a give and take.
But it's a give and take, right? And we don't want the moment to moment to be standing there, but there may be some times where you won't be able to move.
But generally, as a rule of thumb, when it comes to combat, even for any class, is going to involve a situational awareness and movement and positioning.
Right.
Right. And that comes into play when you're talking about instant casts or cast times that require no movement or that kind of stuff.
Right.
If there is a skill like that, there's a reason for it, and it's a give and take relationship.
It's we want you to take the time to make sure I'm actually in a good place where I can cast this spell, and it's really powerful, but I can't use it that often because people can get me while I'm in it.
Sure.
So